The soft hum of the Yelire was Elara's lullaby, her heartbeat, the very rhythm of her existence. It wasn't the kind of hum that rattled or buzzed, but a deep, resonant thrum that vibrated through the deck plates, a constant comforting whisper from the ship's fusion core, its life support, its vast intricate network of systems. To Elara, it was the sound of home, stretching out across the infinite star-dusted velvet of the cosmos. Her chamber was a cozy, circular nook, carved into one of the Yelire's many bioluminescent decks. The walls glowed with a gentle shifting light, powered by symbiotic algae that also scrubbed the air and recycled water. Bioluminescent mosses carpeted the floor, soft beneath her bare feet, and tiny crystalline flora bloomed in self-sustaining terrariums, their faint, sweet scent mingling with the recycled, ozonated air. Outside her viewport, an impossibly distant nebula painted the void in shades of amethyst and rose. A silent, swirling masterpiece glimpsed through the Guirai's primary observation dome, then relayed to every personal screen, an ever-present reminder of their journey. Elara was 9 cycles old. Those cycles on the Yelire were measured not by planetary rotations, but by the ship's steady, unwavering progress through the void. She knew no other sky than the one outside her window, no other ground than the living decks of her ship. Her parents, Dr. Aris and Commander Lena Vance, were both key members of the Yelira's expeditionary crew. Her mother, the lead xenolinguist, her father, the chief astrogator. Their mission was grand, ambitious, almost poetic, to find and prepare a new homeworld for humanity, a mission that had already spanned 3 generations, a silent, hopeful odyssey through unknown stars. Tonight, Elara lay in her low-slung bed, not yet asleep, but lost in thought. Her mind often drifted to the stars, to the places they had been, and the places they were going. But more often, it drifted to the dreams. They weren't ordinary dreams. They were too vivid, too detailed, too old. They felt like memories, but memories that couldn't possibly belong to her. In these dreams, she saw vast crystalline cities that rose like glittering spires into alien skies, cities that hummed with a different kind of energy, a forgotten magic. She saw beings, tall and slender, with eyes like polished obsidian, moving with a grace that transcended mere motion. Their language, when they spoke, was a melody of chimes and deep, resonant tones, a language she didn't understand, yet somehow it felt in her very bones. Sometimes the dreams were of immense silent ships, unlike anything in the Yelire's archives. They sailed not through the vacuum of space, but through shimmering iridescent tunnels, weaving through dimensions like threads through cloth. And always, there was a sense of profound longing, a quiet ache that resonated deep within her chest, a feeling of something lost, something deeply, fundamentally important. Her parents, when she tried to describe them, would smile gently. "Just your imagination, little star," her father would say, ruffling her dark hair. "You read too many of Mama's ancient earth myths." Her mother, ever the linguist, would sometimes ask for more details about the language she heard, meticulously noting down the sounds Elara described, though she never found a match in any known or hypothesized alien lexicon. But Elara knew it wasn't just imagination. The dreams were too real. They left her with a residue of emotion, a faint echo of another life, another time. She called them her cosmic echoes. Tonight, as the nebula outside her window pulsed with soft light, Elara finally drifted off. And the echoes began. She stood on a precipice of polished, midnight blue rock, overlooking a valley filled with structures that seemed to grow organically from the ground, not built. They spiraled upwards, catching the light of a distant binary sun that cast long violet shadows. The air was thin and cool, carrying the scent of ozone and something else, something metallic and sweet, like rain on ancient stone. Above, a sky of deep indigo swirled with faint ethereal auroras, even in daylight. A figure stood beside her, tall and slender, their form shimmering faintly, as if woven from light itself. They didn't speak, but a wave of gentle understanding washed over Elara. This place, this entire world, was alive, intricately connected. The structures weren't just buildings, they were conduits, drawing energy from the planet's core, from the binary suns, from the very fabric of space-time. They were a civilization in perfect harmony, a symphony of existence. Then, a shift. The auroras in the sky intensified, turning from gentle swirls to frantic pulses of scarlet and gold. The ground beneath Alara's feet trembled, a low thrumming replacing the peaceful hum. The figure beside her turned, their obsidian eyes wide with something akin to sorrow, a profound, universal grief. They extended a hand, and Alara felt a surge of urgency, a desperate need to grasp it, to understand. Before she could, the dream fractured, pulling her back to the familiar, gentle hum of the Sci-Fi. She awoke with a gasp, her heart pounding, the metallic sweet scent of the dream world still clinging to her senses. She swung her legs off the bed, the bioluminescent moss cool beneath her feet. The nebula outside her viewport glowed serenely, oblivious to the ancient sorrow that had just filled her sleep. She knew, with a certainty that transcended logic, that these dreams were not mere fantasy. They were messages, whispers from a forgotten epoch, a forgotten people. But what were they trying to tell her? The next morning, Alara joined her parents in the primary observation dome for breakfast. The dome was the heart of the Lyrae, a vast multi-decked space where the ship's command center, scientific labs and communal areas converged beneath a panoramic view of the cosmos. Giant transparent panels of reinforced dura steel, layered with energy-dampening fields, offered an unobstructed vista. Stars blazed, nebulae drifted, and sometimes a rogue asteroid would hurtle past, its trajectory meticulously calculated by the Lyrae's sophisticated navigation systems. "Good morning, little star," her father Eris greeted her, his kind eyes crinkling at the corners. He was already engrossed in a datapad, equations scrolling across its surface. "Morning, Mama, Papa Dottie." Alara slid into her seat at their small round table, which floated gently in a low-gravity field, secured by magnetic clamps. Her mother, Lena, a woman of sharp intellect and quiet intensity, was sipping nutrient paste, her gaze lost in the swirling colors of the nebula outside. "Sleep well, sweetie?" Lena asked, a soft smile on her lips. Alara hesitated. She often felt a pang of guilt about not sharing the full intensity of her dreams, but she knew they would simply dismiss them as childish fantasies. "Fine," she mumbled, spooning up her synth oatmeal. Suddenly, a chime echoed through the dome, a distinct, urgent tone that always signaled a significant discovery or an anomaly. Eris's head snapped up from his datapad. Lena's eyes narrowed, her focus shifting from the nebula to the main command console, where a holographic display flickered to life. "Shipwide alert, anomaly detected," a calm, synthesized voice announced. It was Unit 7, the Lyrae's primary AI, a presence woven so deeply into the ship's systems that it felt less like a computer and more like a wise, omnipresent guardian. Unidentified energy signature. Origin point approximately 3.7 light-years ahead, along our projected trajectory. Initial scans indicate extreme age and unusual composition. The dome buzzed with activity. Crew members, previously enjoying their breakfast or working quietly, sprang into action. Scientists at their various consoles began running diagnostic checks, adjusting sensor arrays, and projecting trajectories. Aris, already at his navigation station, began to input new parameters. Lena, ever the linguist, activated her specialized xenolinguistic analysis suite, preparing for potential communication, however unlikely. "Extreme age, Unit 7? Lena asked, her voice crisp. "I am you. Can you provide a preliminary estimate?" "Estimate places the structure's creation at no less than 7 billion standard cycles." Unit 7 replied, its voice devoid of inflection, yet the data it conveyed was staggering. "Possibly older. Energy signature is stable, non-aggressive, but entirely anomalous. No known stellar phenomena, artificial constructs, or natural formations match its profile. 7 billion cycles. That was older than many galaxies." Alara felt a shiver run down her spine, a prickle of intuition. This wasn't just a yawning anomaly. This felt significant. Like the universe was reaching out, whispering a secret. Over the next few hours, the Lyrae adjusted its course, gently veering towards the detected anomaly. The atmosphere in the dome was electric with anticipation. Holographic projections of the anomaly began to populate the central display, a faint, shimmering speck at first, then growing steadily clearer as the Gilara's long-range sensors focused their immense power. It wasn't a star. It wasn't a planet. It wasn't even a nebula. It was nothing and everything. A vast, intricate weave of dark matter and exotic energy, impossibly large, impossibly ancient, yet utterly silent. It didn't emit light in any standard spectrum, nor did it reflect it. It seemed to absorb, to aid drinking the light, leaving a perfect immense void in its wake, yet its presence was undeniable, a colossal gravitational anchor in the emptiness. "It's like a tear in the fabric of space," Commander Jian Li, the ship's executive officer, murmured, his voice hushed with awe. "Or a wound. Our long-range scans show no internal structure, no coherent form," Iris reported, leaning over his console. "Just this field. This bubble of impossible physics. Gravitational lensing around it suggests immense mass, but our mass detectors are getting null readings within the field itself." Elara watched, mesmerized. Her dreams felt closer now, the echoes louder. She felt a strange pull, a yearning towards the dark, silent void on the screen. It was like looking at a piece of the world from her dreams, but vastly magnified, stripped bare of its vibrant life, leaving only the profound silence. Lena, meanwhile, was running her xenolinguistic diagnostics. "No discernible patterns in the energy emissions," she reported, a frown creasing her brow. "No modulated signals, no repeating sequences that suggest intelligence. It's just static, but a kind of static I've never encountered. Pure noise, yet it feels structured." Elara, standing beside her mother, felt it too. It wasn't noise to her. It was a melody, faint and distant, but undeniably there. A song of silence, a cosmic echo. "Gaio, can we get a closer visual?" Jian Li asked. "Optical arrays at maximum magnification." The holographic projection zoomed in. The void resolved into something far more complex. It wasn't empty. It was a dense interwoven network of impossibly fine filaments, like a spiderweb spun from darkness itself, stretching across light years. Within this web, faint motes of energy pulsed, almost imperceptible, like tiny, dying embers. As the image sharpened, Elara gasped. The filaments, the way they interconnected, the faint, shimmering patterns of energy within them. It was familiar. Not from her dreams directly, but from the she feeling of her dreams. It was the same underlying architecture, the same silent, ancient purpose. "Mama," Elara whispered, tugging on Lena's sleeve. "It's like the conduits." Lena looked down, distracted. "The what, sweetie?" "The conduits in my dreams," Elara insisted, pointing at the projection. "The way they connect. The way they pull energy." Lena glanced from the screen to Elara, a flicker of curiosity in her eyes. "Elara, this is a dark matter structure, not a power grid." "But it feels like one," Elara insisted, her small hand reaching out towards the projection. As her fingers neared the holographic image, a strange thing happened. The faint motes of energy within the dark web pulsed brighter, just for a moment, then dimmed again. It was so subtle, so brief, that only Elara seemed to notice. She pulled her hand back, startled. Iris, busy with navigation, hadn't seen it. Lena had been looking at Elara, not the screen. "Unit 7? Any changes in the energy signature?" Lena asked, a new note of professional interest in her voice, perhaps spurred by Elara's observation. "Negative, Commander," Unit 7 replied. "All readings stable, no external emissions detected." Elara frowned. She knew what she saw. A connection. A recognition. Over the next few days, the Lyra continued its cautious approach. The immense structure, now dubbed the Weave by the crew, dominated the main viewports. It was breathtakingly vast, dwarfing their ship to an insignificant speck. The closer they got, the more complex and intricate its patterns became, like observing a galaxy-sized tapestry woven from shadows. Elara found herself spending more and more time in the observation dome, pressing her face against the cool durasteel of the viewport, staring out at the Weave. The feeling of familiarity grew stronger, almost overwhelming. Her dreams intensified too. She began to see the slender, luminous beings from her dreams moving within the weave, their forms faint and translucent, like ghosts. They weren't building it, they were part of it, flowing through its dark filaments, their obsidian eyes reflecting the silent, swirling energies. One evening, Aris found her there, long after her bedtime, gazing out. "Still enchanted by our cosmic mystery, little star?" he asked gently, placing a hand on her shoulder. "It's not a mystery to me, Papa," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "It's home. Or it used to be." Iris chuckled softly, but his eyes held a flicker of concern. "It's a structure of immense age and unknown origin, Alara. We're approaching it with extreme caution. We still don't know if it's benign." "It's not dangerous," Alara stated with absolute conviction. "It's sleeping." Iris knelt beside her, his expression serious now. "How do you know that, Alara?" She turned to him, her eyes wide. "Because I can hear it. It's singing. A very, very quiet song. And I think it's waiting for us." He looked at her for a long moment, then out at the weave. He had seen the strange flicker on the holographic display days ago, after Alara had reached for it. He'd dismissed it as a sensor ghost, or perhaps his own tired eyes. But Alara's certainty, her unwavering belief, unsettled him. His daughter had always been unusually perceptive, but this was different. "The crew is preparing for a close-range reconnaissance," he told her, his voice softer than usual. "We'll be sending out a scout probe tomorrow. We need to understand what this is, Alara, what it really is." Alara simply nodded, her gaze fixed on the weave. She knew. She felt it in the deepest part of her being. The cosmic echoes were no longer just dreams. They were reality, unfolding before her very eyes. The Illyrian was drawing closer, and with every passing moment, the silent song of the weave grew a little louder, a little clearer. She could almost make out the words, the ancient, forgotten language humming just beneath the surface of her awareness, waiting to be fully heard, waiting for its story to be told. And as the Illyrian slowly, majestically, broke through the last veil of interstellar dust, approaching the edge of the weave's gravitational field, Alara felt a profound sense of destiny. This wasn't just a discovery, it was a homecoming. A future past, calling out to her across the vast, silent sea of stars. The Illyrian, a vessel of polished chrome and shimmering energy shields, slid into the embrace of the weave's gravitational pull like a child returning to its mother's arms. Outside the panoramic viewport of the bridge, what had appeared as a distant, intricate nebula now resolved into an impossibly vast, interconnected network of luminous filaments. They pulsed with soft multi-hued light, indigo, emerald, amethyst, against the velvet black of space, weaving together like threads of pure thought. It wasn't a solid structure, not entirely, but a swirling tapestry of entangled energy fields, cosmic dust, and something else, something that defied sensor readings and astronomical classifications. "Gravitational shear holding steady at .02, reported Lieutenant Commander Jarek, his fingers dancing over a holographic console. His voice, usually crisp and precise, held an undertone of hushed awe. "No discernible mass, Captain. It's a field of pure potential, or something beyond our understanding of matter." Captain Kale, a man whose silver-streaked hair and weathered face spoke of 1,000 jumps through hostile space, gripped the armrests of his command chair. His gaze, usually fixed on the tactical displays, was riveted to the view beyond the glass. "Keep us stable, Jarek. Dr. Aris, what are your readings telling you?" Dr. Aris, the ship's lead xenolinguist and astrophysicist, adjusted her neural interface, her eyes wide behind her glasses. "Captain, they're telling me nothing and everything. The energy signatures are off the charts, but they don't conform to any known particle physics. It's like looking at a symphony and only hearing static. Except Ilara." She turned to Ilara, who stood transfixed, a few paces from the viewport. The humming in Ilara's mind had swelled. It was no longer a hum, but a chorus, a symphony of ancient voices layered over each other, each note vibrating deep within her bones. The filaments of the weave outside seemed to pulse in time with her own heartbeat. She reached out a hand, not consciously, but instinctively, as if to touch the cosmic tapestry. "It's beautiful," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the low thrum of the Lyrae's engines. "And it's alive." "Alive?" Captain Kale frowned, his pragmatic mind struggling with the abstract. "Elara, can you be more specific? Are we talking about a biological entity? A Dyson sphere intelligence?" Elara shook her head, her eyes still locked on the cosmic display. "Neither. Both. It's like a vast consciousness, a memory field. The language. It's not just sound. It's light. It's vibration. It's a feeling. It's the story of how it was built, why it was built, and it's welcoming us." A shiver ran through the bridge crew. The idea of a welcoming cosmic entity was both exhilarating and terrifying. "Welcoming us how?" Jarek asked, a tremor in his voice. "Our shields are still active, but they're reading anomalous energy fluctuations, nothing threatening, but they're bypassing our dampeners. I'm getting a faint resonance throughout the ship's structure." Elara lowered her hand, turning to the captain. "It's responding to us. To me, it's inviting us in. But it's not an invitation with words, Captain. It's an invitation of connection, a merging." Before Kale could voice a command, a phenomenon began outside the viewport. One of the closest luminous filaments, an iridescent ribbon of emerald and gold, began to thicken, expanding gently, flowing towards the Lyrae. It didn't accelerate dangerously, but moved with a deliberate, almost tender grace, like a tendril reaching out. "What in the void is that?" Dr. Iris breathed, her scientific composure momentarily forgotten. The filament touched the Lyrae's forward shield. There was no explosion, no violent impact. Instead, the shield shimmered, then seemed to absorb the light. The emerald and gold flowed into the ship, not through a breach, but as if the ship's very hull was designed to accept it. Along the length of the Lyrae, faint lines of emerald and gold began to glow, tracing the ship's conduits and structural supports. Inside, the bridge lights flickered, not out, but changing hue, bathing the crew in a soft, welcoming glow that mirrored the filament outside. A low, resonant hum vibrated through the deck plates. Elara gasped. The ancient language which had been a chorus, now coalesced. Individual voices separated, becoming distinct, yet still beyond direct translation. But the meaning was clear. She felt it, understood it, knew it. "Welcome. You have found your way. The song remembers you. And Edwan. It's changing the ship's internal frequencies," Jarek reported, his fingers flying across his console. "Power output is stable, but every system is resonating with an external energy source. We're not losing control, Captain. We're integrating." Captain Kale looked at Elara, his eyes searching hers for answers. "Elara, what do we do? Do we resist?" Elara met his gaze, her own eyes shining with an otherworldly light. "No, Captain. We yield. We trust. This isn't an attack. It's an embrace." As if on cue, the Lyrae began to move, not under its own propulsion, but guided by the invisible currents of the weave. It drifted deeper into the luminous network, the filaments parting and rejoining around them like water around a fish. The distant stars were slowly obscured, replaced by the intricate shifting patterns of light that were the weave itself. It was like being inside a colossal, living kaleidoscope. Elara closed her eyes for a moment, letting the flood of information wash over her. The language wasn't just sound. It was a complex sensory experience. She saw images, nebulae collapsing into star systems, planets teeming with nascent life, civilizations rising and falling across eons, all depicted in swirling light and shadow. She felt emotions. Profound joy, deep sorrow, endless patience, a sense of universal interconnectedness. When she opened her eyes, the bridge looked different. The familiar metallic surfaces of the consoles now had a faint, iridescent sheen, reflecting the shifting colors of the weave. The air itself felt different, cleaner, crisper, imbued with a subtle electric energy that made her feel more awake, more alive than ever before. "Elara," Dr. Iris said, her voice filled with wonder. "My neural interface, it's picking up patterns. Not sound waves, not light waves, but something else. A complex data stream, almost like a universal code. It's beyond our encryption, but it feels structured, intelligent. It is intelligent, Ilara confirmed, stepping closer to the viewport. The L ray was now deep within the weave, surrounded on all sides by the luminous filaments. They pulsed rhythmically, like the beating heart of a cosmic entity. It's the repository of an entire civilization's history, their knowledge, their very essence. They built this network, not just as a communication system, but as a living archive, a way to preserve themselves and their wisdom for eternity. The ancients, Captain Kale murmured, a dawning realization in his eyes. This is their legacy. But why? Why leave it dormant for so long? The question echoed in Ilara's mind, and the weave seemed to respond. A new layer of the language emerged, a more focused, poignant melody. They sought to understand. We sought to connect. We sought to transcend. Words formed in her mind, clear as if spoken aloud, yet without actual sound. Core world, our sun, it faded. We knew our time was short. So we wove ourselves into the fabric of the cosmos. We became the weave. One. Ilara repeated the message, her voice trembling with the weight of its significance. They didn't die, Captain. Not in the way we understand it. They integrated their consciousnesses, their entire civilization, into this network. They became the weave itself. A stunned silence fell over the bridge. The implications were staggering. Not a relic, not a ruin, but a living, breathing, cosmic entity born from an entire civilization. So, what are we seeing? Jarek asked, gesturing at the swirling lights outside. The physical manifestation of their collective consciousness. In a way, Ilara said, trying to articulate the immense, complex truth she was receiving. It's a multidimensional construct. The filaments are conduits for thought, for memory, for energy. The spaces between them are pathways to understanding. They created a sanctuary for their minds, a library of their experiences, and a beacon for others who might one day seek the same path. As she spoke, the Ray continued its gentle journey. It was no longer moving through a uniform field, but through distinct regions within the weave. They passed through what Ilara instinctively recognized as the Gardens of Remembrance, where swirling patterns of light depicted lush alien landscapes and vibrant ecosystems, complete with phantom echoes of alien flora and fauna. Then, the Halls of Knowledge, where geometric patterns of incredible complexity represented scientific breakthroughs and philosophical treatises, the sheer volume of information staggering her mind. Ilara felt an increasing pull, a magnetic force guiding her towards a central point within the weave. The humming intensified, focusing on a single, dominant frequency. The voices became clearer, coalescing into a single, resonant presence. It felt ancient, wise, and incredibly lonely. You carry a shard of our legacy, Star Child. A resonance of our beginning. Where near you? Ilara's breath caught in her throat. A shard, she whispered, more to herself than the crew. The words struck a chord deep within her own forgotten memories. Ilara, what is it? Captain Kale asked, concern etched on his face. He could see the profound shift in her. The way she was becoming more attuned, almost translucent in the shifting lights. It knows me, Ilara said, her voice full of wonder and a touch of fear. It knows my heritage. My connection to the ancient language. She touched her chest, over her heart. It says I carry a shard of their legacy. The letter slowed, coming to a gentle halt in a vast open chamber within the weave. Here, the luminous filaments didn't crisscross chaotically but flowed in majestic, sweeping arcs, forming a colossal dome of living light. In the very center of this dome, suspended in empty space, was a singular structure. It was unlike anything they had ever seen. Not a ship, not a planet, not an asteroid. It was a crystalline form, radiating a soft, pure white light that seemed to absorb all other colors. It pulsed gently, like a heart made of starlight and pure thought. Its surface was covered in intricate, fractal patterns that shifted and reformed with hypnotic grace. Sensors are offline in this chamber, Jarek reported, his voice hushed. Completely. But I can Feel it, a profound energy signature. That, Ilara breathed, her voice filled with reverence, is the nexus, the heart of the weave, where the first of them ascended. As she spoke, the white crystalline structure began to glow brighter. The fractal patterns on its surface became more defined, more intricate, and Ilara felt an intense surge of understanding. This wasn't just a place of ascension, it was a focal point of creation. A cosmic seed. Approach, star child. Your journey began long before you knew it. And now, it continues. Oh. Ilara felt an irresistible urge to move. She stepped forward, drawn by an invisible current, towards the airlock leading to the Yalire's small shuttle bay. Ilara, wait! Captain Kale called out, but his voice was distant, muffled by the overwhelming presence of the weave. I have to go, Ilara said, turning to him, her eyes burning with an inner light. It's calling me. This is what I was meant for. Kale hesitated, torn between his duty to protect his crew and the profound sense that Ilara was following an ancient, unalterable path. He had seen enough impossible things on this journey to know that conventional rules no longer applied. He nodded slowly. Dr. Eris Jarek, prepare a shuttle. Minimal crew. You go with her, Ilara, but be careful. Report everything. I'll go too, Captain. Dr. Eris volunteered immediately, her scientific curiosity overriding any fear. Jarek, ever the loyal officer, simply nodded, already moving to prepare the shuttle. Within minutes, the Lyrae's smallest shuttle, the Yamathi, detached from the mothership and drifted towards the Nexus. The crystalline structure seemed to expand as they approached, its white light enveloping the shuttle. Inside the Yamathi, Ilara felt the ancient language surge within her. No longer a hum or a chorus, but a direct, intimate communication. It felt like memories unlocking within her own mind, memories that weren't hers, yet felt profoundly personal. Left a seed. A fragment of our consciousness. A guide, should the stars ever need one again. A seed. Ilara whispered. Am I a seed? The answer was not in words, but in a rush of images, a faint star chart, showing a distant, unremarkable blue-green planet. A small glowing ember of light falling through its atmosphere, hundreds of millennia ago. A lineage of individuals, each with a subtle, inexplicable connection to the stars, a yearning for the unknown. And then, her own face, as a child, gazing up at the night sky. You are the resonance. The awakened echo. The bridge. Ani. The Yamathi settled gently on a small flat outcropping on the surface of the Nexus. The crystalline surface beneath their feet was warm to the touch, and vibrant with subtle inner light. It felt alive, pulsing with the same rhythm that now echoed in Ilara's heart. Incredible, Dr. Iris murmured, her hand pressed to the glowing surface. It's not just a crystal, it's a vast interwoven network of quantum-entangled particles. Every atom here is connected to every other atom, and to the entire weave. Ilara didn't hear her. Her gaze was fixed on a central point on the Nexus, where the light seemed to coalesce into a shimmering, ethereal doorway. It wasn't a physical opening, but a swirling vortex of pure energy, beckoning her. Enter, star child. Embrace your heritage. Awaken the guide. No, ill. She walked towards it, her steps light, as if gravity itself was less potent here. Jarek and Dr. Eris followed, their faces a mixture of awe and apprehension. As Ilara reached the threshold of the shimmering light, she turned back to her companions. Her eyes were no longer just Ilara's eyes. They held the depth of ancient stars, the wisdom of forgotten civilizations. This isn't just about discovery anymore, she said, her voice clear and resonant, carrying an authority that was new to her. This is about responsibility. The weave isn't just an archive. It's a guardian, and it's waking up. With that, she stepped into the swirling vortex of light. It enveloped her instantly, not with blinding intensity, but with a gentle, warm embrace. For a moment, her form shimmered, becoming translucent. Then she vanished, absorbed into the heart of the Nexus. Dr. Iris and Jarek rushed to the edge of the vortex, staring into the swirling light. There was no sign of her. Elara. Dr. Aris called out, her voice echoing in the vast silent chamber. From within the light, a new sound emerged. Not the ancient hum, nor the structured language, but a pure crystalline tone that vibrated through the very fabric of the Gimothe, through their bones, through the nexus itself. It was a single perfect note, imbued with immense power and profound sorrow. And then, the light of the nexus pulsed, brighter than ever before. The entire weave, stretching into the unseen cosmic distances, responded. The luminous filaments that formed its structure began to glow with a renewed intensity, like a slumbering giant slowly stretching awake. The rhythmic pulses quickened, and the energy readings on Jarek's console, though previously offline, flickered back to life, registering power levels unlike anything humanity had ever conceived. The single note from the nexus deepened, then split, becoming a complex chord, then a melody, then a full soaring anthem that filled the cosmos. It was a song of awakening, of remembrance, of destiny unfolding. Jarek and Dr. Aris exchanged a look of bewildered wonder. They had found the ancients, but they had also lost Elara. Or, perhaps, she had simply found her true self. The Elaying, still connected to the weave by its glowing filaments, now began to hum with a new resonant frequency, its systems responding to the surging energy. Captain Kale, on the bridge, watched as the star chart on his main screen, usually depicting only charted space, began to expand, illuminating distant, unknown regions of the galaxy. New pathways, new connections, new destinations, all woven into the weave, were suddenly becoming visible. The weave was awake. And Elara, the girl who heard the ancient language, was at its heart, its guide, its voice. The future of the galaxy, and perhaps beyond, had just begun to hum with a purpose as vast and intricate as the weave itself. And the story, far from ending, was only just starting to unfold its first magnificent chapter. The hum wasn't just in her ears, it resonated through her bones, a deep harmonic thrum that vibrated with the very fabric of existence. The ancient chamber, previously silent and echoing, now pulsed with a soft internal light. Not artificial light, but something organic, flowing from the intricate patterns on the walls, from the floor beneath her feet, even from the air around her. It was as if the chamber itself had become a living conduit, and Elara, standing at its heart, was the focal point of its awakened consciousness. She felt the weave not as a map, but as an extension of herself, a vast interconnected mind that stretched across light years. It was a language without words, a symphony of starlight and cosmic dust, of nascent suns and dying galaxies, all speaking in unison. And she understood. Not with her logical mind, but with a deeper, intuitive part of her soul. A gentle pressure built in her mind, not uncomfortable, but insistent. It was a request, a query, a beckoning. Images, fleeting and vibrant, bloomed behind her eyes. A spiral galaxy, shimmering with untold stars, then zooming into a particular, almost invisible, nebula. Within the nebula, a pinpoint of light, previously obscured, now glowed with an inviting warmth. "Go there," the weave whispered, not in sound, but in pure intent. "Find the first thread. And, Wish. Her parents, Lyra and Kale, rushed into the chamber, their faces a mixture of awe and concern. Lyra, her mother, a brilliant xenolinguist, gasped, her eyes wide as she took in the transformed chamber. Kale, her father, a renowned astrophysicist, merely stood, head tilted, listening to the impossible silence that was filled with an equally impossible sound. "Elara," Lyra whispered, her voice barely audible above the internal hum. "What's happening?" Elara turned, a radiant smile on her face. "It's awake, Mom. The weave is awake. And it wants us to go somewhere." Kale, ever the pragmatist, stepped forward. "Go where, sweetheart? What do you mean it wants?" Elara closed her eyes for a moment, letting the weave's intent wash over her again. "To the Whispering Nebula. There's a node there. A connection point. It's dormant, but vital. It's waiting." Lyra knelt beside her daughter, her hand gently touching Elara's arm. "The Whispering Nebula? Kale, That's beyond the charted sectors, isn't it? A chaotic region, barely stable. Kale nodded slowly, his gaze distant as he processed the implications. Yes. Thought to be impassable due to unpredictable gravitic anomalies. No stable jump routes have ever been calculated. He paused, then looked at Ilara, a flicker of wonder in his eyes. But the weave. It calculates them, doesn't it? Ilara nodded, her eyes bright with an ancient wisdom that belied her years. It is the routes. It was the connections. Preparations were swift, fueled by a mixture of scientific urgency and Ilara's quiet, unwavering conviction. The Stardust Weaver, a compact, state-of-the-art exploratory vessel, usually reserved for deep space probes, was made ready. Its crew, a small team of specialists, were briefed on the unprecedented nature of their mission. Most were skeptical, but the sheer, undeniable energy radiating from the ancient chamber, and the quiet authority in Ilara's voice, convinced them to trust. Ilara sat in the co-pilot's seat, not because she needed to operate the controls, but because the navigator's console was where the weave's instructions manifested most clearly. The ship's primary AI, named Aura, usually a confident, almost playful voice, was unusually subdued, processing data streams it had never encountered. Ilara, Aura's synthesized voice echoed through the bridge. The jump coordinates provided by the weave are utterly unlike any known navigational algorithms. They suggest pathways through spacetime that defy current theoretical models. Risk probability is unquantifiable. Kale, in the pilot's chair, gripped the controls. Can you verify their stability, Aura? Verification is impossible without engaging them, Captain. They are self-validating in a manner of speaking. They don't conform to our physics. They carry a new physics. Ilara placed her hand on the console, feeling the subtle vibrations of the weave through the ship's systems. It's safe, Aura. The weave knows. It was a path. Lyra, seated behind them, leaned forward. Think of it, Kale. For millennia, we've been trying to find faster, safer ways to travel the galaxy. What if the weave isn't just a map, but a direct conduit? A network of established paths, woven into the very fabric of space by some ancient, unimaginable intelligence. Kale took a deep breath. Then we are about to take the first step onto that network. He looked at Ilara, a protective but resolute gaze. Ready, sweetheart? Ilara nodded, a sense of profound calm settling over her. Ready. Engaging weave-calculated jump sequence, Aura announced, a hint of digital awe in her voice. The stars outside the viewport stretched, not into the familiar tunnel of hyperspace, but into something far more intricate. It was like plunging into a kaleidoscope of light, colors shifting and blending in impossible geometries. Instead of a linear tunnel, they were navigating a complex tapestry, threads of starlight weaving around them, pulling them through folds of space Ilara could feel unfolding and reforming. It was less a jump, and more a gentle, yet instantaneous, rearrangement of reality around the Stardust Weaver. Then, as suddenly as it began, it ended. The kaleidoscope dissolved, replaced by the deep indigo of space, studded with nebulae. But this wasn't just any nebulae. It was the Whispering Nebula, a vast cloud of gas and dust, previously an impenetrable barrier, now revealed in breathtaking detail. Tendrils of luminous gas curled and spiraled, appearing to whisper secrets across the void. We're here, Aura stammered. Travel time. 0.00000001 seconds. Distance, 1200 light-years. Efficiency, 100%. Even the AI was stunned. Ilara pointed to a region deep within the nebula, where the gas was thinner, revealing a cluster of small, dark, rocky planets. There. The third one. As they approached, scanners picked up an anomaly. Not a natural one. A structure. Ancient, colossal, unlike anything ever catalogued. It was a massive crystalline formation, glowing with a faint internal light, embedded deep within the planet's surface. It looked like a giant, fallen star, its facets catching and refracting the nebular light. It's incredible, Lyra breathed, her face pressed against the viewport. What is it? A node, Ilara whispered, her hand still on the console, feeling the connection grow stronger, more resonant. A place where the weave gathers, a waiting place. They landed the Stardust Weaver on a flat obsidian-like plateau, a safe distance from the immense crystal structure. The air was thin but breathable, carrying a faint metallic scent. The ground beneath their boots hummed with the same low frequency Alara felt within the weave. A constant, gentle vibration. The crystal structure towered above them, shimmering with hues of deep violet and emerald green. It wasn't uniform. Parts of it seemed to ripple, as if made of liquid light, while others were perfectly still, reflecting the distant stars. Intricate, glowing patterns, reminiscent of the weave's own complex schematics, pulsed across its surface. "It's alive," Lyra murmured, tracing a pattern in the air with her finger. "Or at least, it feels that way." Alara walked towards it, drawn by an irresistible force. Her parents followed, their expressions a mixture of awe and apprehension. As Alara neared the crystal, a section of its surface shimmered, then dissolved, revealing an archway of pure, incandescent light. It was an invitation. "It's opening for you, Alara," Kale said, his voice hushed. Alara stepped through the archway without hesitation. The air inside was warmer, softer, carrying a scent like ozone and blooming flowers. The space beyond wasn't a chamber, but a vast, cavernous expanse, illuminated by the same organic light that pulsed from the weave. Floating within this colossal space were thousands of smaller, intricate crystal formations, each glowing with its own unique hue. They were like miniature galaxies, suspended in the void. "They're data conduits," Alara said, her voice echoing softly. "Memories, records, knowledge." She reached out, her fingers brushing against one of the floating crystals. As she did, a torrent of information, not in words, but in pure emotional resonance, flooded her mind. She saw images. Ancient civilizations, long-forgotten star systems, alien species she couldn't have imagined, all connected, all part of the weave. She saw moments of profound joy, of collective sorrow, of shared discovery. "What do you see, Alara?" Lyra asked, her voice filled with concern as she watched her daughter's face, now etched with a mixture of wonder and overwhelm. "Everything," Alara whispered, tears welling in her eyes, not from sadness, but from the sheer, boundless scope of it all. "It's the history of the galaxy, Mom. Not just our sector, but all of it. The weave isn't just a transport network. It's a living library, a collective consciousness." Kale, ever the scientist, approached a different crystal, but it remained inert, cold to his touch. "It only responds to you, Alara. Because she hears the ancient language," Lyra explained softly. "She's the key, Kale. The bridge." Alara turned to them, her eyes still shimmering. "This isn't just a library. It's a communication hub. These crystals, they're like dormant minds, waiting to be reawakened." She paused, her gaze sweeping across the myriad floating crystals. "The weave isn't fully awake yet. This node, it's a part of its awakening. And there are more. Many more, scattered across the galaxy, waiting for us to find them." As she spoke, one of the smaller crystals positioned centrally within the cavern began to glow brighter, pulsing rhythmically. It emitted a soft high-pitched chime, a sound that resonated deep within Alara's chest. "It's calling to something," she said, her head tilting slightly, listening intently to the silent symphony only she could truly hear. Or someone. Suddenly, a new image bloomed in Alara's mind, clearer and more urgent than before. It wasn't a star system or a nebula, but a fleeting glimpse of a creature. It was graceful, luminescent, with multiple limbs that seemed to flow like liquid light. It moved through a crystalline environment similar to this one, but somehow different, more active. It was reaching out, a silent plea. "There's another one," Alara said, her voice laced with urgency. "Another node. And something is there. It's trapped, or lost." The image solidified into coordinates, even more complex than the last, leading to a region of space previously deemed even more dangerous, closer to the galactic core. "It's asking for help," Alara concluded, looking at her parents, her expression resolute. "We have to go." Back on the Stardust Weaver, the crew, though still reeling from the impossible journey to the Whispering Nebula, now faced a new directive from Alara and the Weave. The next destination was the Void's Embrace, a region of space notorious for its intense radiation fields, an unpredictable stellar phenomena. "Elara, darling," Lyra said gently, her hand on her daughter's shoulder as they stood on the bridge. "Are you absolutely certain? The Weave's guidance is incredible. But this is unlike anything we've encountered." "Mom! I feel it," Elara insisted, her eyes fixed on the holographic map where the new intricate pathway pulsed with a soft light. "The connection is strong. This isn't just a route. It's a rescue mission. The being there. It's part of the Weave. It needs us." Kale, having consulted with Aura and the ship's engineers, turned from the main console. "We've made some modifications. Aura has integrated the Weave's navigational data directly into the ship's core systems. It's not just a map anymore. It's almost like the Weave is piloting the ship itself, through Elara." Just as they were about to initiate the next jump, a new presence entered the bridge. It was Commander Jax, a grizzled, experienced spacer with eyes that had seen more uncharted systems than most. He wasn't part of the original Stardust Weaver crew, but had been assigned to them by the Galactic Council, a sort of liaison to monitor the unprecedented events. Jax was a pragmatic man, initially highly skeptical of Elara's claims, but the undeniable reality of their journey to the Whispering Nebula had shaken his scientific rigidity. "Commander Jax," Kale greeted, a hint of formality in his voice. "Ready for another impossible journey?" Jax grunted, but there was a flicker of something new in his eyes, curiosity, perhaps even a grudging respect. "Impossible seems to be the new normal, Captain. Just tell me, Elara, what exactly are we walking into this time?" Elara turned to him, her youthful face serious. "A dormant node, Commander, but this one, it's guarded, or perhaps it's holding something in." She projected the image of the luminescent creature she had seen in her mind. "This being, it's waiting for us." Jax studied the image, a frown creasing his brow. "Looks like a Zelosian spirit walker, if the ancient legends are to be believed. Thought they were just myths, or perhaps highly evolved energy beings." "They are real," Elara stated simply. "And this one is in distress." The jump to the Void's embrace was even more disorienting than the first. The Weave pulled them through a maelstrom of cosmic energy, bypassing solar flares and graviton storms with impossible precision. It felt less like travel, and more like being threaded through the eye of a needle by an invisible, omniscient hand. They emerged into a pocket of eerie calm. Around them, the Void's embrace lived up to its name, a swirling vortex of multi-hued gas and dust, punctuated by the violent birth and death of stars. But here, in this small, tranquil bubble, was a planet unlike any other. It was entirely crystalline, shimmering with an internal light that pulsed with the same rhythm as the Whispering Nebula's node, but with an added urgency, like a distress signal. "Scanners are picking up a massive energy signature," Aura reported, her voice hushed. "Originating from the core of the planet. It's contained, like a cage of pure energy." "The Exolosian," Jax murmured, his skepticism replaced by a profound sense of wonder. "It's trapped inside." Elara felt the creature's presence, a faint, desperate hum that resonated with the Weave's own frequency. It was a being of pure energy, unable to fully manifest in this reality, caught between dimensions by some ancient lock. They landed the Stardust Weaver on a crystalline landing pad that seemed to materialize as they approached. The air was thick with static, making their hair stand on end. The ground underfoot was a mosaic of glowing prisms, each one humming with trapped energy. A pathway, shimmering with a soft, inviting light, opened before them, leading into the crystalline planet's interior. As they stepped through, the static intensified, and Elara felt the Xylosian's presence grow stronger, its silent plea echoing directly into her mind. The interior of the planet was a cathedral of light. Massive crystal formations soared upwards, forming arches and spires that pierced a ceiling of swirling nebulae. At the very center, contained within a pulsating cage of violet energy, was the luminescent being Elara had seen. It was larger than she'd imagined, a majestic, shimmering form, its multi-limbed body constantly shifting and flowing. It pressed against the energy cage, unable to escape, its light dimming with each failed attempt. "It's trying to connect," Elara said, her voice barely a whisper. "But it can't. The cage. It's blocking the weave. Kale and Lyra immediately began scanning the energy cage, trying to understand its composition. Jax, meanwhile, stood back, observing the Xylosian with a mixture of awe and fear. That's no ordinary energy field, Kale frowned. It's a resonance lock, designed to contain beings of pure energy like the Xylosian. It drains their power, preventing them from phasing out of this reality. Elara approached the cage, her hand outstretched. She could feel the Xylosian's despair, its ancient weariness. It was a guardian, perhaps, tasked with maintaining this node, but somehow trapped by the very mechanism it was meant to protect. I can help it, Elara declared, a sudden clarity in her voice. The weave. It knows how to unlock it. It showed me. She closed her eyes, focusing. The patterns on the crystal walls around them began to glow brighter, mirroring the intricate designs she felt in her mind. The hum of the weave intensified, flowing through her, into the core of the crystalline planet. With a surge of effort, Elara channeled the weave's energy. It wasn't about brute force, but about understanding the lock's ancient language, its specific frequency. She felt the patterns of the cage, its intricate design, and then, guided by the weave, she began to speak to it. Not with words, but with a symphony of energy. A specific sequence of resonant frequencies that chimed in perfect harmony with the lock's own structure. Slowly, painstakingly, the violet energy cage began to flicker. Its solid form became more ethereal, less defined. The Xylosian within pulsed with renewed hope, its light growing brighter. It's working! Lyra exclaimed, her eyes wide. The energy signature is destabilizing. With a final concentrated effort, Elara sent a wave of shimmering light from her outstretched hand. The energy cage shimmered one last time, then dissolved into a million sparkling motes of light, fading into the crystalline walls. The Xylosian pulsed, a wave of pure, radiant energy washing over them. It wasn't harmful, but rather a profound sensation of gratitude and relief. The being expanded, its form less defined, more like a luminous cloud, then contracted, flowing towards Elara. It didn't touch her physically, but enveloped her in a gentle, warm embrace of light. In that moment, Elara felt a deeper connection than ever before. The Xylosian wasn't just a trapped entity, it was a living component of the weave, a sentient node, a guardian of ancient knowledge. It communicated with her not in words but in a rush of images and feelings. It showed her its purpose, to guard this node, to maintain a specific frequency that kept a critical part of the weave stable. It also showed her the reason for its entrapment. An ancient forgotten failsafe, a lock designed to prevent misuse, which had mistakenly activated centuries ago, trapping its own guardian. The Xylosian then turned its luminous attention to the surrounding crystal structures. With its renewed freedom, it began to interact with them, its glowing tendrils weaving through the air, touching the floating crystals. As it did, the entire cavern pulsed with vibrant energy. New pathways, new connections, new regions of the galaxy, previously dark, suddenly lit up on the holographic map back on the Stardust Waver. It's reactivating the node, Kale cried, watching the external monitors. It's sending out a signal. A beacon. The Xylosian, now fully active, sent a final profound message to Elara. If there are others, many others, dormant, waiting. Some are like me, guardians. Some are like Yuki's. Find them. Awaken the weave, child of light. The galaxy needs its connections. Undel. It then coalesced its form, becoming a majestic, shimmering pillar of light that rose into the crystalline ceiling, merging with the very fabric of the planet, becoming one with the node. Its presence was still there, but now as an integral active part of the weave, humming with renewed purpose. Elara stood, feeling a profound sense of accomplishment, but also a new heavy weight of responsibility. The weave was awakening, piece by piece, and she was its instrument. The galaxy was vast, and the connections were endless. This was just the second thread. The light from the newly awakened node pulsed around Elara, a gentle, reassuring warmth. She felt the Xylosian's presence, no longer trapped, but integrated, a harmonious note in the weave's grand symphony. A profound sense of peace settled over her, but beneath it, a nascent weariness. Connecting with the weave, channeling its power was exhilarating, but it drew deeply from her own energy reserves. Lyra was by her side in an instant, her arms wrapping around Alara. "Are you all right, my starlight?" she whispered, stroking Alara's hair. "You look drained." Alara leaned into her mother's embrace, drawing comfort from the familiar touch. "Just a lot. It showed me so much, Mom. The Xylosian. It's a guardian of balance. It helps keep the harmonic frequencies of this entire sector stable, so the weave can flow through it. And it was trapped for centuries, a silent sentinel, unable to perform its purpose." Kale approached, a look of profound respect on his face. "You did it, Alara. You freed it. You reconnected a vital part of the galactic network." He paused, then his scientific curiosity, ever present, shone through. "What did it mean, keys like you? Are there others who can hear the weave?" Alara nodded slowly. "It showed me fleeting images, other children, perhaps, or beings from other species, scattered across the galaxy, each with a unique resonance, a specific frequency that can unlock different parts of the weave. I am a key, but not the only one. And the weave, it wants to find them all." Commander Jax, who had been observing from a respectful distance, now stepped forward. His usual gruff demeanor was softened by a genuine awe. "I've seen many wonders in my travels, Alara, but nothing like this. A living network, guided by a child, unlocking ancient guardians. It changes everything we thought we knew about the galaxy." He offered a rare small smile. "Consider me a believer, kid. Where to next?" Alara closed her eyes, letting the weave's current flow through her. The Xylosian's message had refined, clarified. It wasn't just about finding more dormant nodes. It was about healing. "There's a wound," Alara said, her voice soft but firm. "A tear in the weave. A place where the connections are fraying, where the light is dimming. It's causing instability in a whole region of space." The images coalesced in her mind. A nebula, vast and beautiful, but with a dark, swirling void at its heart. The cradle of whispers. A place of intense cosmic creation, but now, it's falling silent. The weave needs to be repaired. This new mission was different. Not an awakening, but a mending. The coordinates were even more complex, leading them not to a hidden pocket of calm, but to the very edge of a cosmic maelstrom. Back on the East Stardust Weaver, Aura, now fully integrated with the weave's data, was a whirlwind of calculations and projections. "The Cradle of Whispers," the AI announced, its voice less robotic, almost thoughtful. "A region of intense stellar nursery activity. Gravitic fluctuations, radiation surges, temporal distortions. It's a volatile environment even by weave standards. The tier Alara senses is causing localized entropy acceleration." "Entropy acceleration?" Kale frowned, adjusting his glasses. "Meaning systems are aging, decaying, at an unnatural rate? Stars collapsing prematurely?" "Precisely, Captain," Aura confirmed. "Planetary systems, nebulae, even the fabric of spacetime itself are being consumed. It's as if a section of the universe is being fast-forwarded to its eventual heat death." Lyra looked at Alara, her concern evident. "Can the weave truly amend something like that, Alara? This isn't just a dormant lock, it's a cosmic catastrophe." Alara took a deep breath. "It's not just the weave that mends it, Mom. It's us. The weave guides, but we act. It showed me. There's an anchor point there. A lost fragment of the weave itself, holding a piece of the original cosmic design. If we can reach it, if we can re-establish its connection, it might heal the tier." The journey to the Cradle of Whispers was the most harrowing yet. The weave's pathways were not smooth tunnels of light, but intricate, vibrating strands, pulling them through turbulent fields of energy. The Stardust Weaver shuddered and groaned, its shields pushed to their limits as they navigated a cosmic storm of unprecedented scale. Alara, focused and resolute, guided Aura through the maelstrom, her hands constantly on the console, interpreting the weave's subtle shifts and nudges. Entering the Cradle of Whispers, Aura announced, her voice strained. "Warning. Extreme environmental hazards. Shields at 70%. The view outside was both terrifying and magnificent. Nebulae of emerald and gold swirled with violent reds and blues, like a painter's palette gone wild. Stars were being born in dazzling explosions of light, while others, prematurely aged, flickered and died, leaving behind rapidly expanding dark matter clouds. And at the very heart of it all, a dark, swirling vortex, a cosmic scar, where the colors faded into an unnatural gray. "That's it," Alara whispered, pointing to the vortex. The tear. As they neared the gray void, Alara felt a profound sadness emanating from it, a cosmic grief. The weave itself seemed to thrum with the stress, urging her forward, yet also warning of the immense danger. "There!" Jax exclaimed, pointing to a small, barely visible object within the vortex itself. It was a fragment, a shard of pure black crystal, absorbing all light, yet pulsating with a faint, almost imperceptible internal glow. It looked like a shard broken from the very heart of the universe. "The anchor point," Alara confirmed, her voice filled with a quiet determination. "It's barely holding on." The Stardust Weaver couldn't get any closer. The vortex was tearing apart space itself, and the ship's systems were failing under the strain. "We can't approach it directly, Alara," Kale said, his face grim. "The ship won't survive." Alara looked at her parents, then at Jax. A profound decision bloomed in her heart. "I have to go to it. Alone." "Absolutely not," Lyra cried, her voice sharp with fear. "It's too dangerous, Alara. The radiation, the temporal distortions, they'll tear you apart." "The weave will protect me," Alara insisted, her eyes fixed on the distant shard. "It showed me how. It's a key, Mom. A frequency. My frequency. I have to physically connect with it. I have to sing it back into harmony." Kale looked at his daughter, seeing not a child, but the voice of the awakening galaxy. He knew, with a certainty that transcended logic, that she was right. "How do we get you there?" "The ship's auxiliary shuttle," Jax interjected, his eyes narrowed in thought. "It's shielded, but it won't last long. We can get her close. Then she'll have to drift the rest of the way." Alara nodded, accepting the terrifying reality. This was a test, a true challenge of her connection to the weave. The auxiliary shuttle, a tiny needle in the cosmic haystack, detached from the Stardust Weaver, its small thrusters fighting against the chaotic currents of the Cradle of Whispers. Inside, Alara was encased in a specialized environmental suit, her small form almost lost within its bulky frame. Her helmet's comms crackled with the anxious voices of her parents and Jax died out. "Alara, maintain visual on the anchor point," Kale instructed, his voice tight with suppressed fear. "Aura will project a minimal resistance path for the shuttle, but it's going to be rough." "Understood, Dad," Alara replied, her breath misting inside her helmet. She could feel the tear in the weave. A raw, aching wound that pulsed with cosmic pain. It was a discordant note in the grand symphony, threatening to unravel everything. The shuttle bucked violently, alarms blaring as it grazed a temporal distortion. Shields failing. Aura's voice warned. "Impact imminent." Ejecting Alara's capsule. Jax roared. "Now!" With a jolt, Alara was thrust from the failing shuttle. Her capsule, a small, self-contained sphere of pure energy shielding, plunged into the heart of the vortex. The world outside became a blur of accelerated time and warped space. Distant stars streaked past like comets, then blurred into incomprehensible streaks. She could feel the fabric of reality stretching and tearing around her. But the weave was there. It was a constant guiding presence, a warm hand in the cold void. It wrapped around her capsule, not physically but energetically, cushioning her, guiding her through the maelstrom. It was a song, a melody, pushing back against the cosmic discord. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the capsule slowed, coming to rest gently beside the black crystal shard. It was larger up close, humming with a dark, resonant energy. It looked like a fragment of night, studded with pinpricks of light that were not stars, but trapped echoes of creation. Alara released her hand from the capsule's internal controls, her gloved fingers pressing against the cold, dark surface of the shard. She closed her eyes, letting the weave's ancient language flow through her, not just hearing it, but becoming it. She began to hum, a soft, resonant sound that vibrated through her suit, through the capsule, and into the very core of the black crystal. It was the song of creation, the primal hum of the weave itself. She sang of connection, of harmony, of balance. She sang of the intricate dance of stars and nebulae, of life and death, of the threads that bound all things together. As she sang, the black crystal shard began to change. The pinpricks of light within it brightened, then pulsed outwards, forming delicate, luminous tendrils that reached out into the swirling gray void. The tendrils wove through the distorted space, connecting with the fragmented energies, drawing them back into a cohesive whole. The vortex began to contract, its destructive power diminishing. The gray dissolved, replaced by the vibrant, swirling colors of the Cradle of Whispers, now re-energized, its stellar nurseries once again humming with ooh. A quiet, resonant energy. The tendrils, no longer urgently mending, now danced through the vibrant nebula, weaving intricate patterns of light and sound. It was the ancient lullaby, restored to its full gentle glory, a soft harmonious hum that soothed the very fabric of space, settling the cosmic dust and calming distant nebulae. Each newly formed protostar within the cradle pulsed with a soft nascent warmth, casting a gentle glow on the swirling cosmic gas, like tiny embers ready to ignite into brilliant suns. The once fractured energies now flowed freely, nurturing nascent planets and whispering promises of life to come. The universe had been mended, its grand, cosmic song clear and true once more. And you, little voyager, nestled safe in your own quiet space, are an important part of that cosmic harmony. Just as the cradle protects its precious star seeds, you are safe and cherished, held gently by the vast, loving universe. Close your eyes now, and listen closely. You might hear the faint, loving whispers of the stars as they drift to sleep, dreaming of new worlds and endless adventures. Let your own dreams take flight, knowing that even the biggest universe sleeps peacefully, its lullaby a promise of a bright new dawn.